What's going on, everybody? I am PlatsDoneFast, and today I am taking down the Panda King and his whole operation in Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Hopefully you enjoy the gameplay in the background while I talk about my greatest day of all time. Now, to me, this is a really easy pick, but you know how some people are like, oh, I can remember that was the worst day of my life. I never really had a day where I was like, wow, that was the worst day of my life. And, but this one was really easy to pick, and surprisingly, I spent it at a little kid's amusement park, running around with 3 kids under the age of 7. But, yeah, so I'm just gonna describe that day a little bit, and honestly, it was so much fun, and I wish I could do it again, but I can't, so that kind of sucks. But, yeah, so here's pretty much the backstory of it. Basically, there was this woman that was, my Uncle Steve. I don't know how he's related to her, but, you know, she was in, like, a tough living situation, and she wanted to move up here to New Jersey from South Carolina to, like, try to make it better for herself and her kids. So, my Uncle Steve went down and picked these kids up, and basically what she wanted to do was have them live at my Aunt Stacy and Uncle Steve's for about, I think it was like 2 months while she got situated down there, you know, sold the house and everything like that. So, they went down and picked the kids up, and they brought them back. And at first I was like, you know, why are you doing this? You know, you don't really know what you're getting yourself into. And, you know, I don't really get it. But I think it was because my aunt and my uncle, you know, they couldn't... My aunt's kind of older, and they got married when they were older. And I think it was just because they kind of, like, wanted kids in a way. And, you know, they really can't anymore. I guess my aunt's too old. But, yeah, so they went down and got these kids, and they brought them over the next day. We invited them over for dinner to our house, and they brought them over. So they get here, you know, at first, you know, the kids are kind of like weird, like wary of you at first. You know, they don't come up and really talk to you. But yeah, so eventually, like, I remember in our house they were like fascinated with all like the animals on our walls. My dad and I used to be big hunters. My dad still is a big hunter, but I kind of stopped. And they were like fascinated with that. They kept asking questions about it. They're like, well, was it alive? I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, how is it up on the wall, not like rotting? And I was like, well, it's only the skin that's real. And they're like, oh. And I remember the little guy, Mason, was asking the most questions. He was 3 at the time, and he was just so fascinated by it. He kept pointing at a bear. So I walk up to the bear, and I pull the tongue out of its mouth. It's a rubber tongue. And both the girls are like, ew, and Mason's like, cool. And he just takes it, he's looking at it, he's playing with it. And then the girls start playing with it. And then, you know, while we were eating and stuff, they wanted to sit next to me, you know, and it was kind of cool, you know. I like little kids, but I don't know if I'd like to be with them all day. But, yeah, so basically, I kind of bonded with them that night. And then my Aunt Stacy and Uncle Steve noticed that. So the next day, they were going to go to Knoebels. This was like a little kid's amusement park. And pretty much the biggest ride there was like this really, really small wooden roller coaster. But they're like, hey, if you want to go spend time with the kids, let us know. And so I asked my sister, I'm like, hey, you want to go? And she's like, no, I'm not going to Knoebels. I'm like, well, we should. You know, it's the little kids and Aunt Stacy, let's go. She's like, no, I'm not going. So I sat there and talked to my sister, just irritated the crap out of her for like 20 minutes. I'm like, Carly, let's go to Knoebels. She's like, no. So I just kept irritating her, and eventually she's like, fine, we'll go. I was like, yes. So I think this was like 2 years ago. I don't even remember what time it was, but it was sometime, I'm pretty sure it was 2 summers ago, and it was great. But yeah, so we go to Knoebels, and the car ride there, they were like all excited. They've never been to an amusement park before, so this was kind of cool. I didn't really know that until about halfway into the trip. We were there, and one of the first rides we went on was a roller coaster. I remember that. And we all went to get lunch. And the first ride I wanted to go on was the roller coaster, you know, because I wanted to go on at least something a little exciting. So I was like, anyone want to go with me? Aunt Stacy and Uncle Steve no, my sister no, 2 of the kids no, but the oldest kid, who was 7, Mackenzie, she was like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go. So I take her on the roller coaster, and as we're going up the hill, I was like, how many of these you been on? She's like, none, I've never been to an amusement park. I was like, oh, well, hold on. That was the only time I realized that they've never been to an amusement park. But, so that's how I found that out, you know, kind of the hard way, but You know, it was still really fun. She had fun when she was on it, but I will admit, even this roller coaster, you came out of your seat a lot, and it was like old and rickety. And you know, I could tell why she didn't like it completely. But you know, whatever. She still had fun while she was on it, I think, and overall it was a good day. But still, the first ride we ever went on was the stupidest thing. We get there, and right inside the gate, there's like one of those rides that look like a Himalaya, you know, to spin you around, and there's like little hills in it. I was like, guys, it's loading. Let's go on it right now. And they're like, okay. You know, all the little kids, and my Aunt Stacy and Uncle Steve stay off to the side. You know, both of them aren't really big ride persons, but you know, they're just doing this for the kids. So we go on this Himalaya looking thing. Turns out it's not a Himalaya thing. The thing starts turning. I'm sitting across from some random kid next to Mackenzie again. I really like Mackenzie, but sitting next to Mackenzie again, and I'm talking to the kid across from me. I was like, "How many times have you been on this?" He's like, 3 times. I was like, "Oh, cool." And then it starts to go, and as it starts spinning, it starts tilting. I'm like, "No, this isn't one of these things that go sideways, right?" He's like, "Yeah, it is." I was like, "Oh my god, I just like drug all these kids, and they're gonna hate me for this." So it starts spinning really fast. It's going up, like sideways and almost completely vertical. And my sister, she's like 21, but she is not a ride person. She's like, "Oh my god!" And her eyes are huge. And the kids are like, "I want my mom." They're like flipping out. And I'm like, "Oh my god, what did I do? This is horrible." But yeah, so the ride finally ended. Like, even I was queasy. I hate circles, like, so bad. Like, if you just put me on a ride where it's like circles and then it starts to go like vertical and crap, I can't take it. But so even I was like, all right, this thing needs to end. So it finally ended. Everyone's like, "That was fun." My sister was like, "No, it wasn't." But that was a good ride. And yeah, that was the first thing we went on. So that started off bad. And then another ride we went on that was like, why did we do that? Was there's this haunted house, right? And we're all like, "Hey, let's go in that." And Mason, the 3-year-old, is like, "Yeah, I want to go." And Uncle Steve's like, "You sure?" He's like, "I want to go." It's like, it's scary in there. He's like, "I want to go." So Uncle Steve's like, "All right, well, let's go." So we all wait in line. We get up to the front. Mackenzie, the older one, and Morgan are going to go with me, and Mason was going to go with my Uncle Steve. So we wait in this line. Morgan, Mackenzie get in the car with me. I sit in the middle. And then as we're pulling out, I see Mason going to get in the car. And the guy operating the ride was like, are you sure you want him to go? And he says he wants to go. So the guy let him go. And so we go on the ride, and like halfway through, like in the beginning, it was so funny. They had like all these skulls and stuff hanging down, and it was like all mirrors, so it looked like there were just a ton of faces looking at you. And Morgan's like, "Look at all the mirrors!" Like, she noticed the trick right away, and like they weren't scared of it at that point. But then you go around this corner, and it makes a super loud train sound, and there's just 2 headlights coming toward you. And then at that point, both their heads were in my shoulder, and like they just did not want any of it. And but yeah, so that's pretty much what happened there. But and then that's all that happened, like my incident wise. But we get out of the ride, and you know, we get out of our cars. We're waiting for Steve and Mason, and so Steve and Mason come out. My Uncle Steve's like laughing. Mason is holding onto his arms so tight. He's crying. He's like, "The hell is scary, Steve?" And it was just, I felt so bad for him, but I laughed so hard. It was pretty funny. And yeah, so that was pretty good. And what else happened that day? Gotta think here a little bit, because you know, a lot happened, and there were a ton of rides we went on and stuff that like I don't think about, but whatever. So then I remember we kept going on this one little ride. It was like a Frogger. It was like literally the thing just like bounced you up and down. It was like one of those rides where usually they're like a 200-foot tall tower and they like shoot you up and drop you down, but it was like not even 20 feet. And the kids loved that, so we kept going on that. Then and then one ride we couldn't go on it because it was too small, but Mason wanted to go on it. There was these little go-karts, right? And you just had like a free amount of time to drive around and do whatever you want, right? So Mason gets in his car. There's like 4 other kids in there about his age, maybe a little older. But So Mason gets in his car, steps on the gas, nothing. Nothing. Car won't move. He's like starting to almost cry. And the guy's like, no, it's okay. I'll just, it needs a new battery. So the guy puts a brand new battery in this thing. So Mason steps on the gas now. It's twice as fast as the other cars. And he's like, he's all happy. He's like smiling, looking over at us, and boom! Right in the first wall. The guy comes up, grabs him, puts him back on the track, hits the gas again, all smiles again. Boom! Right into the second wall. And he hit at least like 6 walls. And the guy just kept coming over and dragging him off the walls. And Mason was so happy. And then he started to focus now. And he's not hitting the walls. He's focusing. We're like, whatever you do, don't call out to him or he's going to hit the wall again. What does Mackenzie do? Mason! Mason looks over. Boom! Right into another wall. The guy was like, that's enough. He ended the ride. Mason got off. We were like, hey, dude, we're sorry. But that was so great. He was so happy during that time. And that was just awesome. But, yeah. And then before we were leaving, there was this log flume ride. And, like, Mason was just so tired. He's just sitting there and he's just, like, falling asleep on Uncle Steve's shoulders. Uncle Steve's just carrying him around. And, but of course, you know, right as we're about to leave, he spots that log flume. He's like, I want to go on that. And, they're like, sure, you get really wet. He's like, I want to go on it. And he just would not take no for an answer. So, alright, we're going on the log flume. And, I figured he was going to bawl the second he got wet because he was tired. And, you know, it was like, it's a lot of water that hits you in those log flumes. But, so we go on this log flume, and surprisingly all the kids enjoyed it, and that was a fun ride. My sister did not enjoy it, though. And, there's a guy outside selling socks, which he was brilliant. Like, right outside the log flume ride, there's a guy selling socks. That guy probably made so much bank, because, I mean, what's the worst part of log flumes is having wet feet the rest of the day, and you're walking around, and that's just horrible. But that guy was smart enough to sell socks right outside, so of course I bought a pair, and I felt good the rest of the day. And I still think the best part of the day actually happened in the car on the way back, but that story, oh my god, my sister is embarrassed to it, like to this day. You bring it up, she's like, stop it. But it's just so funny. So basically what happened was, we're on the ride home, and my Uncle Steve, you know, he likes to crack jokes a lot, and you know, so at first we were just talking. The kids are out cold asleep, like not even cognitive. Like, they're not gonna wake up. So they're in the back. My Uncle Steve is like making all these jokes, telling all these stories. Like, he told so many stories about like when he was driving, about like near accidents and stuff. And I could sometimes add my own into that, but you know, I didn't because I wasn't driving back then, but I probably could now. So yeah, he's like telling all these driving stories. One was pretty funny, where he was in a convertible with his friends, and they saw this like convertible with girls in it. So they go pull up, and like they're going to pull up alongside this convertible. The guy goes to throw it in neutral. Guy goes to throw it in neutral so he can like talk to him and kind of like show off. But instead of neutral, he throws it in reverse. And if you throw like a car immediately into reverse, it's just white smoke and just. So he says this car just locks it up. It's like just like grinding gears. And I was just picturing that, and I laughed so hard at that. Like, that kid just made an ass out of himself. But I thought that was so funny when he told that story. And yeah, so that was, he told stories like that the entire night. Like, if you wanted to, he could tell like all night stories about his friends and just being idiots. And yeah, and the stories are really interesting. But that wasn't the best part. So what happened was, he came up with this tongue twister. It was, who slit the sheets? I slit the sheets. Whoever slit the sheets is a good sheet slitter. Now, obviously, this is a tongue twister, and it's supposed to make you say shit. So, you know, of course I try it. I'm like, who slit the sheets? I slit the sheets. Whoever slit the sheets is a good sheet slitter. And I got it a few times. A few times I was just like, shit, like halfway through it. I was like, god damn it. So my Uncle Steve just laughed every time I did it. And I was like, hey, Carly, want to try it? Carly's my sister. And she's like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to embarrass myself. And I was like, okay. So I kept trying it and stuff. And like, I was getting it down pretty well. And then we got off that topic. We started saying stories and stuff again. And then out of the blue, my sister's like, all right. Holds both her hands up. Makes everyone go silent. I'm gonna do it. And we're like, you sure? She's like, yep, I'm gonna do it. So she's like, here we go. Oh shit. And then her face got so red, and everyone started laughing so hard. And I laughed literally for a good like 15 minutes, like no joke. And after that was all over, everyone's done laughing. She's like, you're not gonna tell my mom, are you? And that just made me laugh even harder. And my Uncle Steve at this point was just cracking up. And yeah, it was just a moment like that literally you bring that up today, and she is like legitimately like pissed off at you. You brought that up. Yeah, so here I got hit by the Panda King. That was like a first ever. But his little celebration's pretty cool though. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, that was like probably my best day ever. A lot happened that I didn't get to, and but I mean, there's just little moments like that were so good. And honestly, I love those kids. And my Aunt Stacy and Uncle Steve, couldn't take them for much longer because like they had to call Child Protective Services a few times. And I remember one time Mackenzie hit Joan, who was the mom, and she called the cops. I mean, it's a 7-year-old. You just grab them and like hold them there if she's like attacking you that much, as Joan said she was. But whatever. So yeah, that was a bad situation. But I really wish it would have worked out or something, and that they're still in the area, because honestly, those kids are like one of the only like I care about them a lot, and I don't care about a lot of people, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know, I don't get that same like love for people, and that was rare. But yeah, those kids were just great, and I really wish they were still here, but whatever, they can't be. But that's that. So here we go. I am pretty much wrapping this up here. I just took out the Panda King, and I will show you my trophies coming up here pretty soon. Next episode, we take down Clockwork, all in one episode. His episode's pretty fast. I think it's like 18 minutes. And then this series is done. And it's kind of a shame, but yeah. So here, I'm just going to show you the trophies. Here they are. You should have 22 bronze, 7 silver, and 3 gold trophies by this point. If you don't, then you missed the vault. But other than that, you should be pretty much on track for the platinum. No other trophies are missable. But yeah, so next video will be the next episode of this. And until next time, hopefully you enjoyed. I am PlatsDoneFast, and I will see you later.